welcome to part 2 of the HMS Valiant build-up. First order of business for this kit is to get the Seascape sorted out. So as I'm working on the model, I've got somewhere for it to be, and somewhere that's going to be nice and stable, and where I'm less likely really to damage the hull once that's sorted out. So in order to do that, I've basically taken the dimensions of the kit itself. So the kit's length is 55 centimeters and the width is 9.1 centimeters. So what I've done is I've made the Seascape 70 centimeters in length and 20 centimeters in width. So the ship itself does actually fit on there quite comfortably. One of the other things that I have been doing is toying with the position of the ship as well. Now, on most builds that I've seen, the ship is basically straight on, like that. Nothing wrong with that, but it doesn't really look dynamic to me. So when I build this one, the kit is going to be at an angle on the Seascape. Just to make it look a little bit more dynamic. Sorry, I'll put my teeth back in. It just makes it look as though it's actually flowing across the scene rather than just being plonked on there. So that's the way that I've decided to do it. I just really need to muck about with it a little bit more just to get it into the right position for myself. I'm using, I think, what is the old photography trick of thirds as well. So really want to try and break it into sort of like a third of a third for the sea, a third for the ship, and then another third for the sea. So I just need to muck about with this just to make sure that I've got it in the right position and look at it from different angles, etc. Because obviously once this has been set in stone, there's no going back really, unless I want to chuck the base away and then start again, which is not something I want to do. So what I need to do to the ship is cut the waterline. There are marks on either side of the hull to be able to do that. On the inside, they've basically put a groove in there that you can just follow with your favourite tool just to cut the waterline down. Once the waterline has been cut down, I'm then going to use another piece of cardboard like this, and I'm going to lay the hull down on there and trace around the outside of it. I'll then be able to cut that out and use that as a template. And I'll be able to stick that on the actual base itself and put the silicone around that. Once the silicone's dried, I'll then be able to cut the template out. And hopefully, by the time we're finished, we should have a perfect hole for the hull to go in. That's the plan. And in theory, it does work. Practice, we don't know yet because we've never done it before. The base itself, the top part, is just going to be made of cardboard, and that's going to be painted and then silicone put over the top of that. Now I know a few people have actually expressed a bit of a concern about using cardboard as the base, but I've watched a high number of videos on how to build a Seascape, and I would say at least 95% of them have used cardboard for it. By the time it's painted, you've got the silicone sealant down on there and you've got the waves, etc. You don't actually see any of the lines coming through from the cardboard. And the other good thing about the cardboard as well is the fact that it's going to take the acrylic paints a lot better than any other surface would. In saying that, because cardboard is not very stiff, that will be mounted to a chunk of hardboard that's exactly the same dimensions. This is actually 6 millimeters thick. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use wood glue and put that all over the base, give it a nice good liberal coating of the wood glue. Then I'm going to put the cardboard on the top. And then I'm going to put some weights on the top, not too heavy because I don't want to damage the cardboard. And I'll just put some weights on the top of that, just to help keep that in place as the glue's drying. and then that way it'll stop the cardboard from curling its toes up. Whilst that's doing that, I'll then be able to cut the whole line on the ship and get that bit sorted out. So as soon as I've got to that stage, I will come back to you. So that was one of the most nerve-wracking hours of my life. I took it really slow actually when doing the waterline, and as you can see, we've reduced the ship down to those two parts there. The rest of it is just there. Yeah, that was a bit of a tense hour for me to do that. I took it slowly. I could have most probably done that quicker, to be quite honest, but as it was the first time that I've ever done anything like that, I just wanted to take it really slowly. But that's now sorted, so I can get the supports in there now. There's one there, one there, and one there, and I think there might be another one that's a little bit further down there, or one there, I'm not sure. I'd need to get the instructions out and take a look and get the parts out. But apart from that, she's moving along quite nicely. So there's not much of her left now, really. So let's just hope that she gets a bit bigger as we go. But yeah, I'm happy. So as soon as I got the base sorted out, that's glued and drying at the moment. I've got some weight on there. So as soon as that's dried, I'll show you what that looks like. But in the meantime, I'm going to get all the little supports in. Got the two halves of the hull put together now. They've had the 3 braces put in there to stiffen that right up again. It's still a little bit flimsy, and I guess it will be until such time that we've got the deck plates in. It's slightly warped at the moment, but that's not a problem. As I say, once all the deck plates are in and it's in place, it will stiffen it straight back up again, and everything will be back in line. But it's not looking too bad. I'm quite happy with progress on that. I'm happy to say that my heart has actually gone back down to a normal rhythm now I've got that bit done. I think the whole line was the bit that I wasn't looking forward to the most. I've also done some work to the middle deck plate as well. This is where the catapult launch is meant to be for the aircraft. The ship doesn't actually call for that to be on there, so that's going to be removed. As you can see, I've got half removed there, and then I've just got this half to go. But I just thought I'd show the work in progress there. Having that gap there doesn't really matter because the deck plate will go right over that. The wooden plate that we've got for that, so they go right over that. So I just need to finish and take that side off. Just needs a little bit of sanding there. I can still feel a little bit of a step in places, so I'll just get that finished off. And the other thing that we've been working on is the base for this to sit on, and that's what that's looking like at the moment. So we've got some darker areas at both edges there, just to simulate that you've got some darker water. And then we've got the normal colour of the ocean there, and then the turquoisey bits is basically where the water's being churned up with the oxygen going into it, etc. So that's starting to take shape. All I need to do now is, now this paint's dried, is get the silicone on there. I've got the silicone gun all charged and ready to go. So I'll just get that silicone on there. That's going to go on there white, but it will clear to a translucent once it's dried. So as soon as I've got that done, I will come back to you and let you see what it looks like. Got the Seascape done now. I know it does look white, but that will dry translucent. I would imagine it's going to be about 24 hours before that's actually dried properly. Basically all I did was I put a load of sort of all-purpose sealant on there, and as you can see on the part, it does say white on application, transparent when dry. So I put a load of that on there, and then just basically smoothed it off with my fish slice. Lucky I live on my own, because otherwise if I had a wife she'd kill me for doing that. I mean, that'd come off anyway, so it's not a problem. But I smoothed it out without, I didn't smooth it out completely flat, because when you look at the ocean it's never really completely flat. So I just smoothed it out just to make sure that everything got a good covering. And then I went along with a plastic spoon like this, and just used the back end and just patted it down, just to bring some of the silicone up, just to help create the waves. So now I've got to wait at least 24 hours for this to dry properly. Once that's dried properly, I'll then be able to go back in again and start doing some of the bow waves around there, and also get some more silicone around the bow of the ship, or sorry, the stern of the ship, and get that looking as though it's churned up through the propellers, and some also down the sides of the ship as well. Just build up some areas down the sides of the ship for the waves down there. And that'll be done. And then all I need to do as well on some of these waves, most probably not all of them, but a few of them, what I'll do is I'll just dry brush those in white, so it looks as though they've got little caps on them, and then the Seascape will almost be finished then. So just, as I say, just need to wait for that to dry off, and then I'll be able to continue. So as soon as I've made some more progress to this, I will come back to you. As you can see there, the Seascape itself is nearly dried. There's still quite a few little milky areas where it hasn't quite turned translucent, but those areas were quite thick actually, to be honest. So they will take a little bit longer to dry than other areas. But you can start to see now the definition of where we're going to have some wake that we need to build up around the edges of the ship there. So I just need to really wait for that to dry off properly before I tackle the next stage of it. So in the meantime, I'm doing some work to the deck plating of the ship, and it's mainly the middle and bow section of the deck plating that needs the work done to it. Now, as you remember from the last video, we had a little bit of detail that we removed from this side. I've now removed the rest of it. There was also some detail that needed to be removed from that part as well, and there were some thin ribs down around this area that needed to be removed as well, and the same on that side. So they've been removed, and there was also a little piece just there that needed to be removed, and also another little piece just there that needed to be removed too. So they've been done. I'm not going to add those details back on until such time I'm ready to actually glue these sections of the deck plate down properly. The reason being for that is that I just need to continue to check the instructions on the kit for the photo etch. The reason being is, if you look at the bottom of the ship, that's the bit that I've just sanded down and where we need to put those ribs in. Now, to be quite honest, if you used to try and put those ribs on without the whole, without the deck plating on, you're going to find it very difficult to line them up. So it's just best taking your time and making sure that you've got all of the parts done, and then you can go in and start doing the photo etch. What I've been doing is I've just been constantly scanning the photo etch, to be quite honest, because there is, as you can see there, there is quite a bit of photo etch work that needs to be done. So what I've been doing is I've just been going around and checking the deck plating and the hull to see if there's anywhere that I can start doing modifications before I start buttoning everything up. And I think at the moment, to be quite honest, for the hull, I've got all the bits done, so I think we can actually now start buttoning these things up. And the good thing is, with all the brass parts that you've got, they do actually give you a list of what's what and where it needs to go on the hull as well, which is absolutely fantastic. So all I need to do is now really just start gluing all of this together, waiting for the glue to dry, and then I can go back and start putting on all the little photo etch parts. The good thing as well is with the instructions, as you can see there, it does actually tell you exactly what parts you do really need to remove to put the finer detail on there. I'm not sure whether we need to actually get the deck, the wooden deck plating on there first, or whether we can actually get the photo etch on and then put the deck plating on. I need to really look into that and see what we need to do there, because obviously I really need to paint the hole first before we can move on. So I will just continue scratching my head and looking at those bits and seeing what order we can do those in. So as soon as I've got some more work progressed on this, I will come back to you. Got the deck plating glued to the hull now, and that's actually straightened up the hull as well, which is great, because that did have a slight twist in it, but by putting the deck plating on there and getting those glued in, that's actually straightened it back out again. So that's great news. I've also put a lot of masking tape on, just basically to make sure that everything is as tight as it possibly can be, and it doesn't lose its position as the glue is curing. And that will now add a lot of structural strength to this kit. The other thing that I've done as well on the bottom is I've run a bead of glue all the way down across the seam on the inside on both sides. Most probably unnecessary, but what I wanted to do was just make sure that the deck plating was as strong as possible, because that is now going to be acting as most of the support for this ship as we've cut the bottom off. So I just didn't really fancy that sort of moving anywhere over time, so that's why I've done that. And it, as I say, it just helps to add a little bit more strength to the kit. So the next step for me to do is I've got two panels that go in, one on this side here and then another one on that side. Once they're in, I can then start looking at some of the photo etch work that needs to be done. We've got some that does need to go down here. We've also got some little ladders that need to be put on. We've also got the little details that need to go in underneath there as well. And there's various other little bits of photo etch detail that need to go in around this edge of the ship and also down around there. The catapult system that was there won't be replaced, because looking at some of the pictures in I think for around 1942 to 44, that appears to have been missing, so that's not going to go back on there. But the wooden deck plating that we've got that goes in actually does cover that up quite nicely anyway, so that's not an issue. So really at the moment, whilst I'm waiting for all of this to dry, it is just a case for me now to just continually read and scan the instructions to make sure that all of the bits that I need to do to this section I am going to get done, because there's quite a lot of photo etch bits to do. It is a case of that I'm going between sort of this set of instructions for all the parts, and then I'm also going to those as well for the parts. So I just really need to make sure in my own mind that I've got everything set out that I need to before I then move on to the next stage. So as soon as I've got some more work done to this, I will come back to you. Made some more progress to the kit. It has been slow going, to be honest. We've got some photo etch done. I'm not sure whether this is actually going to come out on camera or not, really. It's so small. But we got one of the photo etch parts in on that side there, and then that is a little ladder. That was fun. The edges on that had to be bent round. I don't know whether you're going to see that angle or not. Let's go back a little bit. No, I don't think you're going to be able to see that, but that ladder is actually bent back at an angle, so it does actually stick out, so it is definitely 3D. We've also got another one there. There you go. Actually, you can see it a little bit better on that one. And then down here as well, let me just get into, there it is. These parts are so small they're hard to find. So we've got those parts of the photo etch in as well. There's 10 parts on there. Some of those are about 0.5 millimeter in thickness. So that's taken a bit of time to do. And we got those done on both sides as well. The other thing I've been doing as well, just to give my eyes a rest from doing those little parts there, was to get part of the rear superstructure done. There is a mast that will eventually fit through that hole there. But yeah, that's what that's looking like. And then we've also got this part that's currently gluing. This top part isn't actually stuck on there at the moment. That is just basically resting in there. I put that in there purely just to help keep the bottom part square whilst the glue in there is drying. This part was actually quite fiddly to get together. But we got there in the end. It's done now, so that's the main thing. So that's about it for the moment. That's all I've managed to do today. That's taken me quite a while to do, so it's a bit of a major accomplishment. And as you can see by the base as well, that's actually now starting to come through nicely. We've still got a couple of areas around there that we're still waiting on to dry properly. And there's a couple of areas around that area that just need to dry properly as well. But that's coming along, so it's going to more than likely be tomorrow before I can do any more work to it. So I'm going to call it quits on this video, because I know it's getting a little bit long now. So I will catch up with you in part 3, where hopefully we'll be able to get some more work done to the Seascape itself, and we might, if we're lucky, be able to get some paint down on the hull of the ship as well. That would be a bit of a milestone. So until the next video, thanks for watching, and please do take care.